Awesome. Thanks, Stylomax, for finally getting us started. Welcome, everyone. We are here on OPN Developers Monthly, episode number 1, coming up on hitting the hottest indie titles of September 2016. We made a profound and subtle selection out of probably 100 games that are coming out this month, like they do every single month, from the indie scene. And we're going to be presenting tonight with a list of very strong panelists, what we consider to be the 10 most significant game. Check it out. We're going to keep you going for about 75 minutes, a lively conversation between game developers on these hottest independent titles. And we are also going to be dropping games like It's Candy in the chat. So stay tuned with that. Stylomax should be handling it. And let me get things started right off right now and start on the OPN front, because I am accompanied by my co-host, Shane Games. What's up, Shane? How you been, man?
Doing good, man. Can't wait to do the show.
Yeah, me too. We're going to keep the ball rolling. I'm also accompanied by James Peterson, who's been the OpNoobs Summer Fellow. Let's give him a round of applause, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for working for free.
Please. I really needed that.
We seriously appreciate anyone that's willing to work for free at OPN, and James has done a fantastic job. This is our thank you to you to accompany us in this monthly kickoff of a show that we plan on hosting once every month between developers that we meet pretty much every week within the indie scene. And the concept is basic. We want to talk about the games that are coming out that have some interest within the realm of indie and based on the trailers, and very, very little less, to be quite frank. The conversation will be geared around its potential and what it symbolizes in the industry. I'm going to introduce the panelists right now, and I can only start with the great Kate Edwards, who was so kind to join us on this Kickstarter of ours. Kate is obviously the executive director of the International Game Developers Association. That's a mouthful, Kate.
It is.
Have you guys ever considered shortening the name? IGDA works well.
Well, it's funny. Last week at PAX, someone asked me, what exactly do you do? I just said I disrupt the industry.
Yeah.
That was simpler.
You do a lot more than that. Kate's not only been working at the IGDA since 2012, she is also the founder and principal consultant of Geography, which is a Seattle-based consultancy for content culturalization and a unique hybrid of an applied geographer, writer, and corporate strategist built upon a passion for global cultures and media technologies. Yes, I'm reading this out loud. She also was Microsoft's first geopolitical strategist, a position in which she was personally responsible for identifying potential issues in all first-party games between 1995 and 2005. Wow. Kate is also the founder and former chair of the IGDA's Localization Special Interest Group, a former board member of IGDA Seattle, the co-organizer of the Game Localization Summit at GDC, and she's a regular columnist for Multilingual Computing magazine. That's when she's not participating in a podcast on OpNoobs, obviously. Fortune magazine, nothing less, named her as one of the top 10 most powerful women in the gaming industry. And in December 2014, she was named by GamesIndustry.biz as one of the 6 people of the year in the game industry. That's because Kate is everywhere. You really are, Kate. I mean, you've supported our small initiative from the get-go in 2014. You've never said no to a single invite that we threw at you. And I don't think it's because we're all that special, to be honest. I think it's just your spirit. And it's such a welcomed force in the industry. We at OPN come across, we interact with dozens and dozens every week. And to have such a friendly, positive person spearheading the indie scene like this, and it's, well, thanks for doing all you do.
Thank you.
Without getting emotional.
Thank you.
It's true, though, we mean it. Then we've got Aaron Casillas. who came through us through a mutual friend. He laughed before the show. That's Chris Rubier, because we believe Chris is one of the greatest. Chris from Westwood Studios, one of the creative minds behind Command and Conquer, to say the least. Aaron, you spent nearly 2 decades in the video gaming industry. You're currently the director of design for Zynga, a position you took following your employment, and I take a pause, in the story department at the world-renowned and award-winning entertainment studio Telltale Games. Psyched to have you with us, Aaron. Thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm having a blast so far.
Yeah,
So,
well,
hopefully I can add to the show and not take away.
no, I'm sure you will. Then the one and only, I gotta say, my personal favorite in the industry, and we've interviewed ton, Zeno. Zeno, you are the community and PR manager at Little Green Man Game Studio, one of the most I want to say almost progressive studio out there, especially within the realm of indie, because it feeds off, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can curse me if I'm wrong, you feed off the Steam program called Early Access in a way that is a positive force in the industry, in the sense that you make a kick-ass game, the Starpoint Gemini franchise, Starpoint Gemini 1, 2, and Warlords, and it's a stunning sci-fi space trading and combat simulator. Zeno, you run the media relations, and you're also, and most importantly, the front man for the Steam community. Thanks for being with us, Zeno.
Thank you. Nice being here again.
Yeah, you're a kick-ass guy, and your gaming career started back in 1986 on ZX Spectrum. You continued on your favorite Amiga 1200. I like that on your bio. You make sure you mention that. I think that's great. And then you moved on to PC, the platform that we all love. Zeno, you also write game reviews, I believe, and I may be wrong, for Croatian gaming portal goodgame.hr.
Yeah, true. I mean, I don't have time anymore to write on a regular basis, but on occasion I do write reviews for games, yeah.
That sounds like a lot of my writers. All right, moving on to Andy Cutruff, who the name deceives you. Andy is totally American, just like me. The accent might deceive you as well. He's the CEO for Reentry Games. Andy also works for Microsoft. You spent a few years doing video processing, engine development for the GPU, but it doesn't stop there. You moved on to New York and you tried your hand as a Wall Street tech architect, picking up a lot of networking and design experience, but it still doesn't stop here. In 2011, you quit. You quit with your friends and you fled the corporations, your words, not mine, to start a game company and revive, and I love that, revive the puzzle fighting genre. With an awesome game. Reentry Game has released Ember Strike in its early access state. Zeno, you can definitely relate to that and connect with that. And it's their first game, but it's making a whole lot of noise on Steam. It's got already an ardent community at it, playing the game competitively. The game is free to play. Andy, you've embraced the free to play model. If you want to check out the interview, we have it. It's on OpNoobs.com. It's a great talk that we did with him and his right hand, who's a very talented artist as well. And we're stoked to have you with us, Andy.
Yeah, likewise. Really appreciate it, and thanks for that good intro.
Yeah, awesome. Of course. And last, but certainly not least, is Chris Natsume. Probably among Chris, you're probably among one of the most charismatic guys that we've interviewed in the past 2 years. You're the creative director and the co-founder of Boom Zap Entertainment. Chris is, and I think we should all bow to this, you are the producer of the original Far Cry.
All hail the maker.
in games that you made a really famous game like 10, 15 years ago, and like you spend the rest of your career like, I have to make a game that good again so people will stop talking about the thing I did 10 or 15 years ago.
How's that?
That being said, it was a good game. Proud.
It was a great game. You revolutionized the first-person shooter solo campaign by yourself and probably a big team that you had behind you. But I mean, yeah, we're psyched that you're a friend of OPN, obviously. But you're a vet. You're a vet to say the least. You've been actively working as a designer, producer, and director in the game industry since 1992, with credits on almost 50 games. You are a game addict, Chris. You gotta quit.
It's the casual game industry. It used to be that you could make a game every like year and a half, 2 years, and then when casual games started, it was like make a game every 6 months or die. So yeah, over the last 10 years, that number got real big.
Yeah, right. And now Boomzap Entertainment, your studio engages about 75 people in 14 countries, if I'm correct. I may be factually wrong. And you're pretty much one of the pioneers of the virtual studio environment, 100% home-based and pants optional.
That's absolutely true. We started the studio with 2 people. One person, back then I was in Seattle, and my best partner was in Singapore, and we didn't want to move. And over time, we just collected more and more people, and about once every month or so, we would talk about, okay, is it time to get an office? And it's almost 11 years later, and we still haven't gotten around to getting that office. So yeah, that's working out pretty well for us.
And right now you've got Legends of Calasia running on Steam, which is the hottest title.
That is true. We have Legends of Calasia up on Steam and Mac, and just a plug, it is actually dropping on iOS tomorrow. So you should check that out.
We don't do iOS, Chris.
In case anyone was interested. It is still cross-platform. You can play PC versus iOS, so there's that.
Fair enough. All right, so the concept of the show is simple. We're going to spend about 6 to 8 minutes per trailer. We're going to show you the trailer on Twitch, and we're going to get the ball rolling right now. We're going to do giveaways about every 5 minutes. I'm counting on you, Stylo. I also hats off to Stylo, who's controlling the broadcasting and making sure that everything is smooth. Stylo's also going to be dropping games like it's candy in the chat. At least we promised you that much. If he messes up, it's entirely his fault. Please do not send emails to inquiries@opnoobs.com. We don't know what happened. Without any further delay, let's get those 10 trailers started. I've got the great Shane, who's going to give you the game description and the studio background on the stream. Shane, are we ready? Is everybody on their YouTube page ready to get the first trailer started?
I'm ready.
Please
Yeah. That's Avedon, right?
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Avedon. So we're going to call on you. We're going to call on you as soon as Shane is done. Raise your hand if you feel like you want to take the mic and get the conversation started. And if you don't, it's pretty much could be anyone. All right, Shane, get the trailer started. And Shane, up to you.
All right. Well, the first game we got is Avedon 3, The Warborn. Retro isometric fantasy-style Western RPG with tactical turn-based combat. You play as a hand of Avedon, an agent of your homeland with almost limitless discretion. Features a branching storyline with multiple endings. You can be a saver or a traitor. 5 different character classes with unique capabilities. Now, the studio is Spiderweb Software. It's a small independent company based out of Seattle, Washington, founded in 1994. They specialize in retro-style isometric games with unique worlds and complex narratives. They've developed over 20 games, including the Geneforge series and Nethergate. This is Avedon 3.
All right, so there's obviously a lot to say about this game just by looking at it, from the great graphic arts that we can see all the way to the retro aspect that may be kind of something that throws gamers off. But I also think there's a niche for it. There's definitely a niche for that market. Can we get any initial thoughts? And I'm gonna call on Chris Natsume to give any first impressions that you have based on watching this trailer. Chris, what's your first thought?
I'll tell you one thing, and this is not a direct comment on this particular game, but on the genre. I am so excited to see the world loving isometric again. I can remember, the first MMO I got into was I was a beta tester for the original Ultima Online. And I remember how much fun it was and how great it was. And I remember being able to see my character on screen and having, that character interact with other people and see the world from that sort of that isometric bird's eye view. And I remember there was the point at which, like, suddenly we could play games in, the over-the-shoulder view or something, and that started looking good. And it was like once the industry had a hammer, everything was a nail. Everything had to be built like that. And I'm just so happy to see gamers sort of finding isometric again and getting back into isometric and getting back into this more sort of strategic view. I love these kind of games.
What do you think? How do you explain the comeback?
Yeah, I think what's been fun for me to watch as a grumpy old man making games is watching the kids find stuff that we used to do. And I think there's a lot of this sort of retro stuff, and obviously if you want to make your game look retro, use pixel art, and that looks great. But I think people are beginning to discover that it wasn't just the crappy graphics that made old games good. There were game design theories that were good, and one of them was being able to look down over this sort of Ultima-like view of the universe. And I think people are just sort of rediscovering these old gems of gaming, and I'm always excited to see somebody use ISO again.
Kate, you seem to be in total agreement with this.
Yeah, I am. Because I've been a fan of isometric views since Zaxxon in the arcades back in high school, and in the crappy Return of the Jedi game. But yeah, I mean, I think isometric there's a lot of power in it. It's a nice kind of compromise between sort of first person ish, which it's not really, but yeah, I thought it's really cool. So it's in terms of what we actually saw, some of the intro artwork actually looked really good. The actual character movement on the screen, it's okay, but I don't know how much of a work in progress it is or not. But,
yeah. I think it's not an early access title, but it's definitely I think it's coming out in full release. Aaron, you also a fan of the isometric style? We got you back on webcam. You seem to be. Can you hear us?
We have an Aaron down.
Aaron down.
I think I think we've got an Aaron down. Is it also the type of, because it's
I'm definitely a fan of isometric. Yeah.
He's back. He's here. We got him.
Dig us down.
It's also been, I think.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I think he's on a delay. Might be listening to Twitch audio instead of this.
Oh, wait, it's cut off.
It's also been, I think it's been it's made a surprising return. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? And he's got a little bit of a connection issue, I think.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Just a tad.
Something's wrong.
I mean, I'm always happy to see retro shows come back. It kind of makes me feel good. All those years I tell kids, oh, you guys don't know what I was like back in the day. So it kind of makes me feel good.
Yeah, this actually reminded me a lot of Neverwinter Nights. Back when I was a kid, loved the old isometric D&D series. And I thought you were actually going to mention Neverwinter Nights for AOL. I know Ultima Online definitely was, there. But that's what really that was my first MMO. It was amazing. And I was surprised how much they just kept shipping the same thing. And I totally ate it up. And the systems, I mean, it's D&D with, your dungeon masters, on the computer. So it was always rad for me as a kid. And looking at these guys on Steam, I had no idea they've been basically following the same pattern that D&D did for years. So I'm actually stoked to go back and look at their back catalog, because it seems they've just had this thing, like it's Abaddon 3. I was like, where's 1 and 2? How have I never heard of it? And yeah, it's like even before that, they have something even sounds similar. So it's pretty cool.
Zeno?
Well, this reminds me of Baldur's Gate and those old RPGs. But actually, I can't say that I'm a fan of isometric games. I'm a fan of good RPG games. If the story is epic, I don't mind the graphics. I don't mind the sound design, even bad voiceovers. If the story is epic, which is the main focus of RPG games. So will Abaddon live to be an epic game? I don't know. but
Yeah.
it looks cool.
Well,
Yeah,
to be
it does.
fair, it does say Epic right there in the description.
Yeah.
It says it. It can't lie.
True,
I mean,
true.
come on.
They were very clear that this story was epic, so I think you're good then, right?
Pretty much. All right. We're gonna move on to the next game. That one kicks my butt. It's a funky one. It's called Best Buds versus Bad Guys.
Sounds like my game, man.
You guys can press play on the YouTube trailer, and Shane, right after you.
All right, so this is Best Buds versus Bad Guys. Retro-inspired, so like he says here, Contra, co-op platformer developed by a dad and his 11-year-old son. Features a chiptune soundtrack, over-the-top weapons, and a special message. Travel with the titular Best Buds to 11 radically different 16-bit worlds, fighting a wide variety of bad guys from demons to snowmen. Now, the studio is Super Icon Limited, and it's an indie developer from the UK with dozens of radically different games for various platformers under its belt. They're best known for their prior epic platformer, Life of Pixel. But before that, they've created games based on everything from playing pool to fighting robots in the Neon Vector world.
Go ahead, Shane.
I was gonna say, I mean, the game looks good to me. I mean, the title just won me over. So.
Yeah, and you see a lot of these type of indie games coming out, and they never get old. They never get old. There's something about that bullet hell type of approach, action, arcade-ish game, that I think it speaks to us all, whether you're like 35 years old into the gaming universe, or even like the 12-year-old kid. It just looks fun, and something as basic as a trailer communicates it all. Like you watch this stuff, and immediately you know what you're getting into, and it's something fun that also hasn't necessarily translated into the mobile scene, and I think I would say that's a good thing. It's still very much endemic of PC gaming. I love it. This is the type of stuff that I would personally want to play. I'd love to get a reaction. Chris, raising your hand.
So I think this is one of the real strengths of what's happening in games today. And what I mean when I say that is you can get games really fast. You know, you can go over to Steam, you can download, more games than you could possibly play in a lifetime in a couple hours. And, a game like this, the trailer looks good. It looks fun. But the fact is, whether or not this game is any good is going to be based on about 30 seconds or a minute worth of playing it and seeing, does the jump feel right? Does it feel really responsive? And it used to be, back in the old days of games, all you had was the filler. And then you had to go spend money and you'd find out like, oh man, this looked good, but it's actually crap. But now, games actually have to be good, because nobody pays for anything until they've already figured out if it's crap or not, right? Mm-hmm. But the ability for you to go and dozens of games that look kind of like this, and this one certainly looks good. I don't think there's anything in this that says that it wouldn't be good. But you don't have to guess, right? This on Steam, you download it in no time, you play it, and if it sucks in a couple minutes, you're like, yeah, that sucks, and you move on. But if it's not, then it actually has a chance to live. I think this is that thing that's happening right now on Steam is one of the most exciting things that's happening in games. Yes,
I totally agree. So this goes way back to I'd say the 80s, the 90s.
90s, oh yeah.
Yeah, what game started it all? Can we pinpoint, can we pinpoint at a specific title, a couple titles from the industry that says that these are the games that define the genre that's still so popular nowadays?
I mean, I'm going to go with Contra and Ninja Gaiden. Really set the tone for these type of games.
I was thinking Ninja Gaiden, yeah.
Ninja Gaiden was Sega, no?
No, it was Timco.
It was Timco?
Yeah.
Way back in the 80s, 90s?
Yeah, I want to say, was it late 80s it came out? I know it hit the NES, right? Wasn't it Timco? I want to say it's Timco. I know it's Team Ninja now. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I worked on Ninja too, but I don't.
Oh, wow.
So I came into it later.
Wow. What about you, Andy?
Wow, you just totally told everyone your age there. That was a really fast. I worked on Ninja Gaiden. It's just that's like saying to the world, I'm really.
I'll tell you, my first game was Pong, so there it is. Okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
Wow, Kate.
I'm old.
No, you're not. You're a vet. Let's get it from the byway. You're a big vet.
So you worked on Ninja Gaiden too, so that means you have like a lot of insight in these type of games. So like, what do you look for immediately when you see a game like this?
Well, let me tell you, from a professional capacity, I enjoyed working on it. From a personal capacity, I really don't like button mashers at all. It's just not my thing. I'm very much more of a FPS and RPG kind of person, especially FPS. But it was fun to work on, just because you're carrying on the legacy of this game that's been around, this franchise. It's been like at least 20 years now. So that was kind of cool. But at the same time, it's just like I really didn't like playing the game. But I think, Ninja, who I worked with on that, I mean, they definitely knew what they were doing. And I think they did a fantastic job of capturing the essence of which Ninja Gaiden is, which is just this over-the-top, amazing combat and carnage. And they just did an extremely good job.
Andy, I'm wondering if there's any connection between this one and Emperor Strike. And I know that kind of seems far-fetched, but in a way, like there's also something addictive about your game, like the kind of the action fast-paced. You're on it and you're moving as fast as you can. It's got that arcade-ish style. You're committed to the revival of the puzzle fighting more. But does this speak to you?
Yeah, from a difficulty perspective, I would definitely make the connection. When you guys were doing that list, I wrote down originally Ghosts and Goblins. I even saw like a homage to their world map in the background in their trailer. And that game is freaking hard. And I totally see that in there. And also the contra bullets and whatnot. But yeah, like it's one thing. Like I don't know if you saw online. There's a YouTube video somewhere where a dad like says, "Okay, play Contra." I think it was, and I'll get you ice cream. And the kid just starts whining about how hard it is the entire time. So it's really awesome to hear that this was done between a dad and an 11-year-old.
Yeah,
I'm right.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and I like that he starts off his description that way too, because it immediately connects us emotionally with the experience, which is something you're only in the indie scene. Zeno, does this speak to you?
Oh yeah, it brings me back to my Amiga days, and I love everything about this trailer. Not the game because I didn't play it, but it seems very hard. It's nice to have a co-op mode. Sound design is excellent. It's just the blast from the past, from sound design, from music, which is chip tune. I don't know. I would play this one. I would try it, and probably failed miserably because I'm old. My reflexes are not what they used to be.
You seem to point that quite often, Zeno. You're not that old.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next trailer. The next one is called Desync. Desync, and Shane, we're all ears.
All right. So Desync is a Tron meets Bullet Hell first-person shooter where you're awarded for creative kills. Our only FPS on the list at this time, though. So the weapon modes are varied with different combinations allowing for different play styles. The game has a foreboding digital vibrant atmosphere. It has a complex leaderboard system and keeps track of your play style. The studio is the Forge One Syndicate is an independent developer based in Australia. Desync appears to be their very first game.
Yeah, and it's I think it's very courageous to start off with an FPS in the indie scene because you don't see a lot of them. The ones that tend to shine are I think it's a very successful. It has the potential. The genre as a whole, for an indie developer, has a lot of potential. There's the FPS scene is kind of coming in indie. You have great titles like Verdun from Black Mill Games that released last year. Squad is another one that released this year, which is making tons and tons of. I think they're in the 15,000 reviews on Steam, which is an impressive number. It seems that it's opening up. I don't know if it's the fact that developers have access to greater tools nowadays to kind of bring those games together in a way that's professional. But it's exciting to see the competitiveness because FPS is a competitive genre first and foremost. It's exciting to see it all coming together from smaller studios than the big AAA ones. And this one in specific,
does it look all?
in line for hours to try serious MVR. So I'm not sure. People are obviously hungry about VR currently. I'm just not sure if enough people have VR equipment, VR sets at home to enjoy it, and so the indies can make a living out of those games.
Just for the record, the journalists were lining up. I'm not sure the users are lining up.
Well, we were on
And there's a difference there.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree with that. I mean, it's like I've tried like Bullet Train and a couple other FPSs in VR, and as an avid FPS player, I'm not impressed. It's kind of a cool experience, but it's not satisfying like the normal FPS mode.
Stylobax, give us a sign of life. Are we experiencing technical difficulties? Are we still on the air? Sure thing. Yeah, sorry guys for the technical difficulties. Also, sadly, things got thrown off with Aaron, who disconnected from the call, but we'll try to adjust the stream. I'm sure Cytomax is working on it. Let's move on to the next trailer, which is ELIOSI'S Hunt. Everybody press play for ELIOSI'S Hunt, and Shane, right after you.
All right, it's a top-down shooter featuring a young bounty hunter named LOC. I can't say that name right now. Wanting to be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. An adventure featuring platforming, multiple weapons, and gadgets. Enemies include robots, crazy space monsters, and tribes of bloodthirsty aliens. The studio is TDZ Games. They were founded in 2015 in Brazil to build on a personal project by one of the founders until it became this game.
That one's truly impressive, at least to me. There's something that on the quality front, you can tell this looks like a mid-sized production to me. I'm not sure what to make of it. I'm not sure how you guys respond also to 3D platformers. Since they seem to be a little bit more console-oriented, but they still make their way through PC. I'm gonna get some initial comments. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I'm gonna get some initial comments from you, Zeno.
Well, I actually really like this trailer. I watched it like a few days ago, and this game looks good. It seems that gameplay is very fluid, and I would definitely be willing to try this one. Also, about 3D platformers, I mean, we have Trine now, which is Trine 3, I think, which kind of meddled in that 3D for the first time in their franchise. And I don't know, I think that this one could be fun. And of course, you do need a story that will just push you to go further and further. And of course, nice graphics and the worlds and environments that will change constantly.
Any reaction on that one?
I mean, the game... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say sci-fi Diablo, sort of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Sci-fi Diablo. Yeah.
I mean, I like the effects. The graphics are nice. Like the lighting is really good. So I think it's impressive. I'm not sold on the main character. I have to play. He looks a little too friendly for me, but
too friendly.
He looks a little too friendly.
I'll jump in and say I was actually really excited by this. And for me, this looks like where I'd like to see indies heading. I noticed when you originally prefaced the game, you said this looks like a mid-sized game or a mid-sized budget. I forget what exact word you used, but you pointed out that like, oh, it's not really that indie. Like there was that sort of feeling of is this really indie or not? You know, this looks like a mid-sized budget. I'm actually very excited about this place for indie. You know, the idea that to be indie, I have to have pixel art. To be indie, I have to be retro. To be indie, we've almost made a box for indies and told indies, hey, you have to fit in this box. Are you a retro pixel art zombie game? No, fuck off. You're not really a I feel like, you know, watching this, I was kind of excited because the graphics do look really good. It looks really solid.
Yeah,
it looks like a really nice looking game. I would definitely check this out. I would play it. Whether or not it's fun, again, I think this is going to be based on whether or not it feels good when you play it, or the jump's good, or the movement good. But it reminds me of, you know, I don't know if any of you ever played Crimson Land. It was one of the try-buy titles in the early golden age of casual games over on Big Fish and iWin and such. And it was very much, it was a top-down shooter like this. It was a lot of fun. And this looks like, what Crimson Land could have been if somebody had put a whole lot of time and energy into making it look pretty. And that looks like good, clean fun to me. And for me, I would love to see more stuff coming out of the indie scene that looks like somebody's not this, pointedly trying to make it look retro, because that gives me some sort of, nimbus of indie street cred. This is exciting for me. I'd like to see people who aren't AAA studios putting out high quality work like this. I think this is exciting.
It's interesting you said that, which is actually, sorry. If
No, go ahead.
It's because it's in contrast to what I was saying earlier about stripping it down. This one jumped out at me as using something and going, and again, another long way, but not just being that bright, vivid, like, look, we're trying to be minimal. Because this thing, it screams of Enlighten. I don't know what engine it is, I'm guessing Unity, but their texturing and is really minimal. So there's really relying on the lighting system, which can get you a lot of realism. And it's really nice to put your style around that. So it is that kind of beginning to smell of AAA indie, like you said, medium-sized sounding, but it could totally be done by, I would say, a team of 2 or 3 people and get this all the way home.
Yeah, we've got 20 minutes left, so I have to cut. I have to keep the ball rolling, Zeno. We're gonna get to the next game, which is Lancelot. Shane, if you want to get on Lancelot, it's right up to you.
Yeah, no problem. Lancelot. Lancers riding rockets at each other. What's not to love? One successful hit, one successful takedown. So every competitor is always in distinct danger of loss. The objects in the arena are active, so get ready to knock them around for the advantage. Now, Rocket Hammer is a Swedish developer, and they're in this for the long haul. They boast a firm willingness to cancel a finished game rather than charge for something they aren't proud of. Lancelot is their first game, but they hope to build a sterling reputation by giving their all for every game.
Yeah, this is super impressive. Actually, Zeno, you were going to talk. You talked to me about this pre-show. This is super polished. Yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't look like indie. That's the first thing. It looks fantastic. The graphics are amazing. The idea and the whole name, Lancelot, is fantastic. And this game has definitely spirit. The only problem with a game like this could be servers. If not enough people hear about the game, if not enough people start playing the game will die because there won't be multiplayers online.
We see it happening all the time, honestly.
Is this thing even... Oh, sorry.
No, even so many writers often come to me and say, I can't test the multiplayer on this because there's no one to play with. And this is just such a major pitfall. And I don't know if marketing is the solution to it, proper marketing. That would be a question for Kate. But before, so Andy, you seem to have some initial comments as well.
I was super stoked about this, and I went on their, I think it was their Steam page, and I think it's local multiplayer only, to your point, which makes it, I was like, this game needs to be online so bad. I hope I'm wrong, but I didn't see any mention of servers that anybody did.
You're right. You're right. True.
Yep.
And I was like, I've seen a lot of postmortems. I mean, it sounds like it's usually a kiss of death if you want to do multiplayer because, yeah. It's your issue to the umpteen, no servers.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you bring that because like all the developers usually say like networking is like its own like trait. Like you have to have people dedicated for that. So it's just unfortunate for multiplayer games because I feel like they definitely need the internet to like be successful.
Kate, what's the solution?
Well, I mean, at the same time, I think I've seen a lot of great multiplayer kind of party games come out of the indie space. And I think that's actually one of the stronger genres that I think indies have been developing, in my opinion. Just I've seen a lot of really cool things, but they're almost all local. And I think that's just a lack of having that network expertise, and because that is quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of integration involved. There's a lot of other issues involved in that, which I can totally understand why it's easier to just make it like a local. And I think that's kind of why they often say it's a party game. Party game.
Yeah,
means
catch co-op.
It's local.
Yeah. we see,
ahead.
but it's a very interesting topic because we see a lot of couch co-ops, local co-ops coming out weekly, and I'm always finding myself wondering how can the model be successful? I mean, PC gamers are not couch people to begin with.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't play on couches. We need the internet. We thrive off of the internet.
Well, but that being said, though, I mean, in the social communities these days, I mean, it's people get together and like, hey, you want to try this game? I mean, rather than like firing up their PS4, Xbox One, or something else, I mean, they can just drive it off their PC or something and try something different that they may not have access to otherwise. And so I know from talking to a lot of my friends that a lot of people, they actually have gatherings where that's exactly what they do, is try new local co-op games just for fun. Because is
it a viable business solution?
Well, it was at one point, because for those of us who remember the pre-online days, we were getting together for LAN parties all the time.
LAN parties.
Just think what happened with the first version of Halo when we would bring our Xboxes to each other's houses.
Yeah. That's right.
It was so much fun, and I think there's people who are rediscovering that to some degree.
I would agree that that's all nice, but I would say that we live in a post-internet world. And
I agree.
One thing that you have to look at is how do you market a game like this, right? And just I would like to say for the record, this looks beautiful, and this is exactly what I was talking about a minute ago about where I would love to see indie going. This is a beautiful looking game, but if you're going to put something like this out, the ability to say, hey, let's have some people stream this, and let's have the live streamers be able to play against the people who are in their stream, and let's be able to have, when you like this game, be able to give an invite to somebody or send it out to your Facebook friends and have your Facebook friends play against you. All of those marketing channels are closed to a local only game. And that's a real issue. And I know, I just shipped an indie game with, real live online, multiplayer. And it is a metric ton of work to do. But I would say, given the we want to be the best studio in the world briefing that you gave us about this studio, I would say that should probably be part of their toolbox, because they're closing out a lot. If they're not online multiplayer, and I'm not sure we totally fact checked that or not, closes out a lot of potential options for them in marketing what looks like a very awesome product.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask too, why I got all these developers on here, right? So networking, like I've talked to a lot of indie developers, and networking's like this, I feel like there's this mystical people that like only exist to a rare amount of few people in the industry. And I'm just curious, like, so, I know nothing's ever easy. I get that. But what makes networking just so special? That's just a trait that a lot of developers just don't have.
I founded Reentry basically on networking on mobile originally, and then we abandoned that and took all our tech to the PC. The thing about it is you have to start from the very beginning. People always try and wedge it in at the end. It is impossible. Like from just the very bottom, even in your game design, right? Lobbing a grenade is a lot different than shooting a bullet in a networked environment. You wouldn't think so, but it actually has effect on balancing, right? The grenade will explode over here. You get client-side hit detection stuff. And then there's just the infrastructure, right? This game, I think, would be successful if there was at least just using Steam matchmaking. They could just connect, and that could be fine. So I think the party game genre, that from a technical perspective, is not nearly as difficult as running a live service. When you start getting into that realm, that's where it's completely prohibitive. And that's what bums me out, because it's strictly, Kate, I love those games, right? And I grew up doing LAN parties, lugging my PC everywhere, and I want that to happen, but I also want to make it so these people can make more games. And it's like Steam and Valve. Valve does an amazing job, if you can get into Steamworks, I think, pretty early, for using their networking layer, especially through most of the engine adapters. They're not perfect, but I think you can take a game like this, if you did it early enough, and be 20 times more successful, and you can get a sequel to it much faster.
He's right.
I will say too, from recent conversations talking with HR folks in the game industry, is that one of the higher demand jobs, and they also said one of the hardest jobs to place, is someone for back end programming, which basically is a lot of the networking stuff. They said they can easily find programmers who want to do front end, like UI stuff, because it's sexy and everyone's going to see it. But nobody really wants to work on the back end stuff, which is tough. But they said it tends to be some of the better paying jobs in the industry.
What's
It's also the job where if you were going to mess up a game as quickly as possible and just destroy it, having a bad guy in that role will absolutely destroy your game.
We gotta move on. We've got to move on. Melancholy Republic's the next one. Everyone press play. Shane, it's all yours.
All right, no problem. Let's see here. All right. The adventure game in the style of a isometric JRPG. You play Claire, southern leader of Lorna, as she investigates her father's murder and attempt to prevent a stirring civil war. The city seems to stay within the city while showing the variation that can be found in a single location. The studio is Cloud Runner Studios. It's a newly established video game developer with the goal of creating powerful story-driven games that move the people who play them. They employed Kickstarter to help fund their first game, which this is their first game. So.
And I'm terribly sorry for this I think unforgivable mistake, but the trailer that we have posted on the YouTube channel and the one that you're watching, I believe is the wrong one. So we're just going to skip this one, even though yeah, it's was it? Oh no, it's the right one. Sorry, I
looks like the right one.
Okay, no, because the graphic art.
Don't you dare skip this game.
Okay,
This
well,
game is beautiful. I would be pissed off if you skip this beautiful game.
Music is amazing.
Here's the thing, though. It's something we see often. The graphic arts, they put so much care in it, and then you follow the graphics of the game, and it's a sharp contrast, to say the least. It's got that RPG Maker feel. I don't know if it is or not. This is such a controversial and at the same time I think interesting topic. The RPG Maker trend I guess it's the same question. Is it a viable business solution? Is it really like the type of product that can you still make a great RPG off of these? And anyone,
I think so. I mean, the JRPG is its own, like it has its own following. I mean, I love the JRPG series. So for me, like I see this and I immediately like fall in love. Like I'm a sucker for like cute. Yeah. I'm a sucker for cute little chibi things. So, I mean, this thing already sold me. So it's cute. I like it. So I'll definitely play it. And the music's good. So. Yeah.
I cried while playing Stardew Valley, and this looks similar in graphics and maybe even deeper in story.
But the Stardew, I mean, personally, the Stardew Valley phenomenon amazed me. Surprised me. Good. I would have never thought
I cried while playing
that such a hit would come like this from
similar
a game that looks straight out of an RPG Maker. And this is not me being tough, but the Stardew, I truly startled by the fact that this type of games can still be a hit in 2016.
I'd like to just butt in and say that if you ever use the sentence "I cried during Stardew Valley," you have to turn in your man card.
Oh, come on.
Dude, Stardew, I get you. It's like Old Yeller for the modern era.
Well, I didn't cry while I was chopping trees. I didn't cry while I was chopping trees, just when I saw the depth of those stories, character stories, relations, and how deep that game is. And why is it so successful? Well, I don't know. I think it's based partially on luck, because there's so many indie games on Steam released every day that I think that the day when Stardew Valley came out, at least 4 similar games came out, and this one had a big break. For the other 4, nobody of us even heard, because there's so many of them. And I mean, No Man's Sky is an indie game, and it received so much hype. And why is it so popular? Because is it better than Elite Dangerous, which is also actually indie game, or better than Star Citizen, or just hype that generated the revenues, the popularity, the visibility, and awareness about the game?
These are 2 big debates. I mean, the No Man's Sky debate is one of its own, and I think we could lose hours trying to figure out what happened, whether it's good or bad, PR and all marketing and funding, but we won't go there. Let's not go there. Let's focus on. I don't know if I agree with you, Zeno. I don't know if I can say that was luck. there's got to be something about that solution, the way the developer, I don't know if it's even just one, approached this game, that he got the mechanics right, he got the depth right, he gave because he must have done something right. It's got to be more than just luck.
Are we talking about Stardew?
Yeah, Stardew Valley. Yeah,
I mean, it's Harvest Moon, man. Like I love Harvest Moon, so it's like similar. I just like those games.
Where do you stand, Kate? Can you say that Stardew Valley was partly luck?
Well, I there's always a component of luck to every creative effort. I mean, let's face it, there is. It's just like, you think of some of the biggest IPs in history, it's like a lot of them were successful for luck, whether it was luck in the actual production, whether it was luck in who happened to notice at the right time. I mean, you could point to Star Wars or any other of these IPs and, just kind of hit at the right time and with the right people. So, you don't want to say it's all luck, obviously, because there's skill involved. You don't want to discount a developer's skill. And especially something like, when your comment earlier on this game, talking about like, well, could something like this come out of RPG Maker? Well, why not? It's like if you've got a developer who's adept enough to use any existing tool to crank out a game that's actually going to be good, then I don't really care how they made it, personally.
Yeah, what is it John Lennon said? If give me a tuba and I'll get something out of it, I'm an artist.
Exactly.
That's how I feel about those exactly.
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong.
I would argue on the luck question. I think it's unfair to say, oh, well, this developer was just lucky. The truth is that the game industry very much right now is a lottery. There's thousands of games that come out every month, right? But honestly, the vast majority of them are crap. And
It's true.
He said it.
It's true.
Man, it's true. But there are, within those thousands of games that come out every month, there are 100 or 150 or so that are pretty good, and there's probably 50 that are really good. And you're not going to be terribly successful unless you're one of those 50. And so, yeah, the developer who made Stardew Valley is a good developer. He made a great game, and you have to credit him for having done that. But for every guy who did that, there's another 20 people who also made a great game that released that week that didn't have the luck that he had. So it's kind of like you're playing a lottery, but the lottery ticket cost is really, really high. It's a good game, well marketed. And the problem is there's still probably 50 or so good, well-marketed games coming out every month right now. And 50 games can't be huge successes every month. It doesn't work like that.
Kate, and then Zeno, I'll give you the final rebuttal because you started the controversy.
Well, I just want to make a quick editorial comment, not necessarily about this game in general, but I think what Chris was just describing, I think, is a perfect example, and it's why I'm so excited for where games are now, because that dynamic that he just described basically describes any other media art form that exists. And so you look at literature, for example, how many people are out there writing their great novel? There's millions, thousands, whatever it is. How many actually get noticed? How many actually rise to the top of the pyramid to be noticed and be bestsellers? Very, very few. And we see that now. That's what I love about this, is that indie development has basically democratized game development in a way that anyone can go to an art store and buy canvas and paint and just paint stuff. That doesn't mean the painting's going to be any good, but they can, or anyone's going to want to buy it, but they can still do it. And so I think, that's kind of what we're facing here is we're in that kind of artistic marketplace, and only the best ones are going to get noticed and rise to the top.
Fair enough. Zeno, closing comments.
Closing comment is, don't get me wrong, I didn't mean to say that Stardew Valley is a crap game, which was just lucky enough. No, but what Chris said, piles of crap are coming on Steam every week, and 3 games are, for example, masterpieces, but 2 don't get noticed in the vast majority of those games that are just piling on Steam every day. That's what I meant. He was lucky in that regard, and in that regard, what Chris said about lottery, it's a lottery, because I am sure that there are many games that are really similar to Stardew Valley in terms of that they're masterpieces of their own, and we never heard of them because they were just not noticed in all those games that came maybe that week.
Well, you're going to get the opening statement on the next game as well, because it's Dawn of Andromeda, and I'd love to get Zeno's initial feedback in light of Starpunch Gemini. But before we get there, everybody press play, and Shane, right off to you.
Yeah, it's a 4X space strategy game that allows for extreme variety with a large procedurally generated explorable area designed with deep diplomacy system and various scenarios with their own victory conditions and challenges. The studio's Grey Wolf Entertainment. It's a small company based in Portugal. It is made up of ambitious and dedicated individuals who share a strong passion for video games and an equally strong passion for creating great video games. Grey Wolf's first title is Dawn of Andromeda, an ambitious space 4X strategy game due to be released in 2016.
So there's a lot to say about this one too. First off, hats off to Portugal for entering the gaming scene, because I think that's the very first title that I come across that comes from the peninsula. Spain obviously is super active, but
Bravo.
Portugal much less. And this game looks, now take that in parentheses, because most space games do look good, but this game does look good. And Zeno, I hate to say you should open on this because you also have a space game. You might find that this one shares nothing in common with the Starpoint Gemini, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Opening comments from Zeno Zokaj.
Well, it does have a lot in common with Starpoint Gemini Warlords. I mean, it's in space. It has ships, spaceships. No, kidding. This is a 4X strategy game, and it looks similar to EVE Online, for example, but I think that it can be a success because the space game market was so scarce a few years back, and now we have more and more space games coming onto the market, and they're looking better and better. And I'm not talking about bigger projects, not AAA, because Star Citizen and No Man's Sky and Elite are not AAA games, but bigger and bigger indie projects, space indie projects, are coming on the market, and they all get their piece of the cake. So it seems that the market is still hungry for space games after a long period of not having any space games. I mean, you had Freelancer that is played even today with numerous mods and stuff. So I don't think that Dawn of Andromeda, it's all about visibility again. It's all about visibility. If enough people notice it and try it, I think they could like it.
Just quickly, Chris, before you jump in, but 2016 especially has been big for the genre. I mean, bear in mind, we're always seeing space titles coming out every year, except this year we've seen already a tremendous amount of success titles. All the way from Stellaris to Starpoint Gemini Warlords.
Master of Orion.
Yeah, it's bustling. People, like you said, people are still looking forward to the next space game. Not to talk about Stylomax, a very anticipated title, which the name escapes me. The big MMO that's coming out supposedly late this year or next year. Huge MMO. Come on, it's been in Kickstarter, made millions of dollars in
Star Citizen.
Star Citizen. Yeah, that's the one. So. Space, which if you talk to most PC gamers, they kind of frown at the prospect of a space game because the market is flooded, and at the same time, it's a very. If I was a developer, I would seriously consider them because they seem to still be very popular if done right. So I guess the next question is this a game from the looks of it that gets what makes a space game successful, or does this come off as a bit of a cliche?
Chris mentioned that before. I mean, you can only get so many games before you get saturated by them. So you have Stellaris, Master of Orion. All those games are practically full-scale 4X games with strategy elements. Will people embrace this one as the one?
Yeah,
it's hard to say.
Chris,
I feel for these developers. I would not want to be trying to sell this game right now and compete with Stellaris. I think that's going to be a huge struggle for them, even if this was a really good game. That being said, I also feel for the developers because this is not a very good trailer. And I watched this trailer about 3 times, and I love these kind of games. These 4X games, that's my jam, and I want to play these kind of games. And I watched this trailer over and over again, and there was kind of a terrible voiceover about, yes, really, humans are from Alpha Centauri, and I don't care. I want to show me how do I play this game, right? I want to see that you show me because there's a bunch of here's what our trailer looks like, here's what I want to know what screens do I interact with, what do I click, what do I do, what do I control, and there was not a lot of that in the trailer. And instead, there was a quite terrible voiceover. And I feel for these developers because it looks like a solid game, but they're going up against some really great competition, which is going to be hard. This looks very much like Stellaris, which is an incredibly good game, and I would not want to compete against that. And they really don't have the best trailer for this. I would go back and try to figure out, if I were this developer, if I'm trying to sell this to a Steam audience and the Steam audience has already got Stellaris on their machine, how do I explain to a user this is different or better than Stellaris, or they give me something that it doesn't give me? Because right now I'm not seeing that, and that's sad because it looks like a good game.
Yeah,
and I want these guys to do well.
Well, luckily enough, a lot of the developers end up posting comments on our YouTube channel when they see this type of show. So they'll probably hear you, Chris, on this. Andy, closing thoughts.
I share. Exactly how you feel, Chris. I looked into it a little more because I was like, I didn't even realize it was a 4X game because the trailer didn't. I was just like, what is this game? What is it? So I had to go that extra layer deep, and I wasn't enticed by it necessarily. And I was actually looking exactly for that differentiator, and it is like bullet point 2. They said it's it has asymmetric gameplay, which some factions don't start with space travel, and it seems, and then the rest of it did read yes, like all the best 4Xs that are out right now. So I was like, I have no problem with people, refining genres, right? But yeah, I really hope that they do have a strong differentiator, and because they aren't screaming it yet, even in their write-up.
And Chris, you have a new fan in the chat, Renegade Page, that says Chris sure is cool. I bet his game Legends of Calasia is just as cool. Moving on, we've got the last 3 hits of the month. Pixel Privateers, all yours, Shane.
Now, Pixel Privateers is a squad-based sci-fi action RPG where loot and upgrades are the name of the game. Your employer wants mysterious technology, and there's a wormhole to another galaxy right over there. Get to it in this squad-based loot 'em up. It's the studio's Quadro Delta, and it's a independent game development studio based in Finland. Their team consists of 7 professionals whose passion is in game creation. The studio was created by a guy I can't pronounce his name and a dude named Alex. Currently, they have created their games Pixel Piracy and, of course, Pixel Privateers.
All right, so let's start with this is much more basic than what we've seen so far. It's not necessarily a bad thing, though, I would argue. It seems to have some composition, some structure. It seems to be a real project. You guys joked. I'm kind of wear gloves now because you guys just talked about all the crap that comes out on Steam every month. Your words, not mine. Do you throw that in that bag? Let's be honest, or do you feel like no? Wait a minute. Is there something to be said about this?
I like Pixel Piracy. I didn't play the shit out of it, but I played a fair amount, and I enjoyed the hell of it. I was like, sweet. I was like, it was funny, and it's simple. It's not, it's not like an 80-hour title for me, but, I know a lot of people that are really into it, and I knew instantly. They even showed, the frosted out at the beginning of their trailer, which I love from a trailer perspective, because it was like, wait, I see what you did here. So I'm stoked about it. I'm stoked.
Chris, you have that grin on your face. We just have to explore.
No, this looks cool. This looks like fun. This looks like, but to be honest, it looks like 50 other games on Steam right now, but it looks like a good one. And I go back to that same refrain. I would love to check this out and play it for about 15 minutes. And I'm reasonably certain after 15 minutes, I would know whether or not this sucked. And my guess is it wouldn't. My guess is this would be pretty fun.
So you're pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
Very optimistic. Zeno?
Well, I have to go with Chris here. There's so many games like this. I didn't play Pixel Piracy, so I saw the gameplay some time ago. But I mean, it looks good, but it's not just my type of game, so I won't comment much on it.
Kate?
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's not. It looks interesting, and I'm kind of really on the fence. I'm maybe curious enough that I'd want to play it for a few minutes and kind of get a feel for it. But from what I'm seeing in the trailer, probably not.
Then I guess we move on to the very last two trailers of September. The first one, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, is Shantae HALF-GENIE. Shantae. All right.
Shantae. This is like one of my favorite games.
From Game Boy and Amiga.
Such a good game.
Right.
So Shantae, the half-genie hero. The game is a new entry in the quirky Shantae platformer series, playing a half-genie heroine on her adventures into the magical depths below. Enjoy whipping your hair back and forth and using powerful magic to make your way through the fourth game in this venerable series. It's made by Wayford, was founded in 1990. By Veloity Way, and is one of the biggest indie studios out there. Over 26 years, they have had developed over 200 games and are located in Southern California.
Oh, they're from. I wouldn't have expected that they'd be from SoCal.
Oh yeah, this is like one of my favorite games. I love the Shantae series. It's super cute, and like it's really vibrant. That's what I like about it. It's awesome.
Can I just shout out that there need to be more trailers with Bollywood music? That needs to happen. Like I watched this trailer like 4 times to this music. I was just like, hell yeah, I can get into this.
This is fun. It's really cool.
It's fun. It's like as soon as you look at it, it just looks fun immediately.
I'm not even a big platformer fan, but I would play this because this just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had never even heard of this series, and I was like, my mouth was on the floor. It's like Aladdin from Genesis days. Like it's just screaming like playing.
The same.
I cannot, I cannot rave enough about Shantae series. It has been amazing for me to play, and I'm excited for this next one as well.
So, are we still correct about being factually right that this comes from indie?
Yeah, I mean this is it's indie studios. I mean it may have been on Nintendo systems.
See, and that's my point from earlier, right? Why do we care? Like there's some part of me that's like
exactly.
Do we need to put this label on it? Like this was probably built by a small team. This is probably guys that need money and need to pay their rent. They're working hard and they've got a license and more power. I have not heard of this license before. It looks like fun. It looks like a good license. They've intelligently gone and found some way to market their product by getting a good license on it. Whether they created it themselves or whether they licensed it out, I don't know. But this is a solid game from what looks like a solid team. And this is obviously not a huge big budget production. So why do we and this is like it seems everything gets to fall on one side or the other. Either you're Assassin's Creed or you're Stardew Valley, and anything in between is crap because they sold out. Right? And I'm like, no, this looks cool. This looks fun. I want this. I want more of this.
I hate to get into some big philosophical conversation about indie, and we're not. But at the same time, I don't necessarily understand the word indie as somewhat of a pejorative term. I think if there's anything beautiful to say about the PC scene is that indie is pretty much just as important as AAA in the sense that it's embraced by the community. Like we play indie games. And the guys who play indie games, in my experience, in my humble experience, also play AAA. The reason like that, there's not necessarily, the Assassin's Creed guy, and he's not going to touch Undertale. I think the Undertale guy plays Assassin's Creed, and I also think correct me if I'm wrong, the big studios constantly look at indie for stuff that works and stuff that doesn't. So I guess what I'm saying.
That's not my point. I think you're right, and my experience from talking to our community tells me as well that the guy who's playing Assassin's Creed also plays indie games. But my point is right now the hardest place to be in games as a game developer is that middle ground. Is the guy making a game like this, right? Yeah. Because he's not getting if you go to PAX for instance,
I get you.
There's the big indie booth, right? And you have to somehow prove your indiness to get to be into that booth. And if you're not indie enough, you're not in that booth, right? But you're not a AAA studio. You don't have the money to have your own booth. And so you're neither fish nor fowl, and you really fight that. And I think there are great companies and great developers and great people that are making high quality, not AAA, not indie content. And what is the vehicle by which we promote that? I think this is a critical question in the industry right now.
I totally agree.
I got to jump in here because I was part of the mega booth, and I just got to give mad props to them because it's actually not that. I mean, they do good at cost efficiency from a space perspective, but really it's not a discount, and you didn't have to. I mean, it's a competition where you submit a game. I didn't have to rub elbows. They had never heard of me. I mean, freaking, they took a chance on us, but they just totally.
I'm not putting them down. I know.
I just gotta give a call out. It really. I mean, you just the comment about proving your indiness. Yes, there is that, and like it's like that South Park where people fart in a glass and smell it. That is that. I mean, I'm not. Whatnot. But I think budget and indie, I think, is one of the core things that gets messed up. This game, right? I think it was $750K on Kickstarter.
It's on
they
Kickstarter.
spent it well, and it's there, right? Like that Bollywood music. I was like, Jesus, I could not pay for that original track, right? Because I don't have the budget for it. I'm still indie. Yeah, I'll still call them indie, but they have $750,000 indie. So it's this really weird gray area that, unfortunately, it's like a stereotype where if someone says indie, the majority is pixel art, so you're going to think that. So it's really, I don't know, just this rough gray area for me as when I have to use the term indie. Sorry.
Well, whatever.
For the record, in the last decade, I have not had $750,000 to make a game with, and we run into problems with are we not indie because I've got so many people in my studio, or because I'm working with Big Fish Games, or I'm working with a publisher. There is a real problem here in the industry of that struggle of are you indie or are you not indie? And I have thought maybe I should dye my hair purple and be more hipster, or whatever it takes,
Kate, you feel out of your experience, you're probably the one who's out of us all who's most exposed to gaming conventions and the way indie studios kind of have to assert themselves in a space that's tight. If we believe what Chris says, you feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think Chris is hitting on a very key stereotype that happens to be real, that there is kind of an indie uniform that some people put on, which includes coloring the hair, living a certain way, whatever it might be. And this is not this is not a judgment.
No, sure. Yeah, it's
not a judgment at all. It's just some people kind of take on this indie persona where they have either it's a certain look physically, or it's a certain lifestyle, or we only do 8-bit games, or whatever it might be. And I think he's absolutely right. I mean, there is this middle ground space, and those people, the small to medium sized developers who are sandwiched between indies and AAA, are having a really hard time right now because everyone. Or go ahead.
I mean, no, I was just about to say, Zeno is that. I mean, your studio is that. You are the medium-sized game developer that doesn't look like what you think of when you think of indie. Like, Starpoint Gemini is jaw-dropping, eye-stunning, and I'm not shooting your horn here. Like, you just launched a game and you're in it. How do you respond to what Kate says?
Well, I agree. We are that middle ground. So we basically have some negative reviews which said that the game looks like a AAA project, but it's too expensive because it's indie. Well, what the hell? I mean, I respect our community, and majority of our community understands and what we do, and is very tolerant and very kind. And I'm proud to have a mature community which comes with this, let's say, complex space games. But also, that's not only in our game. Look at No Man's Sky. Okay, forget about multiplayer rage. But the second rage was, how can it cost $60 for an indie game? It's an indie title. It's a studio of 15 people. How can they charge console prices on Steam? And how can they charge that much for indie game? Well, do you like the game or not? Buy it or don't buy it. Or wait for, wishlist it and wait for the first sale. But I don't understand. I mean, if it's indie, it has to be half price. But it does need to be as good as every AAA title. And even if it looks like a AAA title, they say, wow, this looks like a AAA title, but there are 15 of us, you're in the studio, cut the price on to half. So, yeah.
Well, On that point, I just want to say really quick, I find myself explaining, especially to a lot of non-game industry people and non-gamers, the whole issue of entertainment price and what you choose to spend your money on, whether it's playing money on the lottery, whether it's playing poker in Vegas or Atlantic City or somewhere, or, you know, I often challenge them with movies. They'll say, oh my God, a game, it's $60. Oh, that's crazy. Like, really? I can probably think just this year how many times I spent $20 on an IMAX 3D film that was crap. And I would rather have those cumulative 6 hours back and play one game for 10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, and so there's that entertainment cost thing that I think a lot of people just don't get very conscious of.
Yeah. I mean, someone who does a free-to-play game.
It's just not just a high price. It's any price at all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you put a game up on Steam, and there is a sizable portion of those people who say, why do I have to pay for this? We have reviews of our game that were literally, I played it for 2 hours, and then they asked me for money. Fuck these developers.
And
Dude, I got people.
3 hours, and then after that, we asked you for money, and we're bad? Like, how is that? But
Andy's got his two heads with his free to
Did you
play
have to
model.
keep playing too? Also on top of it, or are you talking about demo? I'm sorry. Are you running free to play? I'm sorry. I don't know. Like,
we had a pay for purchase game, right? But we actually gave the multiplayer away for free. You could play multiplayer forever for free. But then when they found out, oh, you have to pay if you want the extra campaigns, we were terrible human beings because we were greedy and money. How do you think we pay rent? You know?
Hundreds of hours, and here's what really just boils me: you have to donate. It's so many comments, they call it donations. And I'm just like, yes, exactly. And I look at their playtime, and it's hundreds of hours, right? They just, they're playing a game, using our servers, right? Thousands of dollars we're spending a month so that you can shit on us on Steam and tell us how we're badly with game design.
You guys should get into press and see how that feels financially. You complain. I'm going to move on to
real quick. What I thought was really interesting about going back to Shantae, right? That was the game.
Oh yeah.
The game. Yeah. Well, what I thought was really interesting about this developer, the guy who came up with it, it's kind of like a success story for him. His name is Matt Bonzen. And he created, the original Shantae on the Game Boy, and it just did not do well. It just fell apart. It just faded away. And, he's been bouncing back and forth through publishers, releasing a next installment to the game. And eventually it just built up so much hype. And he finally got to this part where he kickstarted it, crowdfunded it, excuse me. And back to your point about what it closed at, it actually closed at $950K almost in crowdfunding for this game. So I just thought it's like a really neat success story to see a guy who never got the recognition of like a AAA title. They get like millions of dollars for his budget, but after so many years of like just, I'm going to keep making this game. This game, I love it. I'm going to keep making it. He was eventually able to get a game where he almost got $1 million for his budget, which I thought was a pretty neat success story for him.
It looks well spent. I'll say that from the trailer.
Yeah, definitely.
It looks like a great game.
I just need to read from Renegade Page, whatever. That's the comment. That's why I play free games like League of Legends. I've only spent $600 on it.
Classic. That's a classic. All right, we're gonna get you guys out of here with the very last trailer, and it's a beautiful one. Honestly, it's called Yesterday Origins. Yesterday Origins. It's all you, Shane.
It's a polished and artistic adventure game where an immortality ritual goes wrong, and you must recreate the ritual successfully. I can't talk right now. The hero of our tale and his other half, Pauline, are immortal, but due to tampering and anything would kill a normal person will give John amnesia. The journey follows John and Pauline through the ages until they can recreate their potion and get it right this time. The studios was created in Spain in the year 1994 as a result of a decision by 4 close friends to become professionally devoted to their greatest hobby, graphic adventures. Since then, they have grown in expertise and number with every game developed. Today, their games are available in 10 languages in 20 countries, including France, Germany, Australia, and the US.
So, as you may have guessed, we tend to keep the best for last. Seriously, tons of incredible stuff that comes out from Spain. It's I don't know what the Spanish have with visual designs, but they're definitely sticklers to anything that's attractive visually. They come out with great products. It's a booming scene, right, Kate, in Spain? Like, Spanish indie games are kind of up and coming, and they're fighting kind of indie behemoth in Europe, which is what, Germany, France, even the Netherlands, Italy is up and coming as well. The UK, obviously, huge indie scene in the UK. Tons, and the UK also sees, correct me if I'm wrong, the remnants of indie publishers who come and support the scenes. There's a real infrastructure for it. But Spain is coming with stuff that's got, and this is what I personally love about it, it's got that Mediterranean flavor. It feels unique, it feels special, it feels Spanish. That's why hats off to the Portuguese coming at it too. You see this game and it captures all that. And I picked it for last because maybe for personal reasons it's the one I'm most excited about. I also wish Aaron was here because it seems very story driven. But initial comments, feedback about what you guys are seeing. Kate, let's finish things off with you.
Yeah, I think it looks beautiful. Obviously, I mean, I would love to play this game. The theme sounds, I'm really intrigued by the gameplay, and so yeah, I would dive into this game right away. In fact, out of all the 10 we've been looking at, this is probably the one that I'm most attracted to in terms of this is a game I would like to play like right now.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was funny though, as you were mentioning all these countries. I mean, I was just going to interject, but I'll do it now and just say, well, basically, yeah, there's a thriving indie scene almost everywhere. I mean, I travel all over the place. I was in Tunisia early this year. I was in, God Almighty, I've been all over the place.
I know. You were on Rainbow Develop.
Yeah, that's right. I was in Croatia, I was in Switzerland, and on it goes. I'll be in Morocco in a few weeks, and on the list. And it's just everywhere I go. I mean, Tunisia was a great example. I mean, you've got a country that is only about 5 years past its revolution, the Arab Spring. You've got infrastructure issues like electricity and internet that don't work well. You've got a banking system that doesn't accept online payments well. You even have active terrorist activity in the country. And despite all of that, there's an amazing community there that's creating a lot of really cool games. And it's just so we're seeing that all over the place. And I think it's just a fantastic dynamic. And I do think, like in this particular game, you're seeing that there is definitely a long tradition and a certain defined aesthetic that comes out of Spain and out of the whole Iberian Peninsula that I think is really coming through in this game. And I think it kind of adds extra richness to it. Just in the same way you're seeing that like out of Eastern Europe, like you look at a game like The Witcher, some of the complexity of The Witcher, it feels like a very Eastern European style game to me. And it's beautiful for that. So, I mean, this seems to be another great example.
And to go by what we were saying earlier, Witcher is still indie. I mean, it's kind of the last remnant of it's an indie studio gone big, but it still captures that flavor, and that's what keeps it indie. To kind of feed off of what Chris you were saying, it doesn't matter at the end of the day as long as it's bringing something positive to the industry. Chris, you seem to have some comments as well.
I kind of disagree a little here. Not on the whole. There's indies all around the world. Certainly, that's true, and I could give you a whole story about how that's true in the Philippines and Thailand and Malaysia and places that we work in Southeast Asia. That's absolutely true. The thing is, I watched this trailer about 5 times, and it's pretty. What's the game? Like, yeah, sure. I agree. I keep watching this trailer, and I'm like, I don't see anything in here that looks like a game screen. And to me personally, this is a pet peeve for me in games, that if you're going to try to sell me a game, I want to know what the game looks like. And so, am I excited by the characters and by the style? Yeah, absolutely. This is beautiful style. These are beautiful characters. These people absolutely have some pretty stuff, but I'm not looking for a movie, right? I'm looking for a game, and I'm really challenged watching this to really know, like, what do I do in this game? Like,
Sure.
I don't know that this trailer works for me
But
from that perspective.
But isn't there something to be said about a trailer that kind of keeps that mystery and yet kind of also at the same time guarantees quality just by the product?
No, not at all. I disagree entirely.
No, yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't go to a tool store to buy a saw and then give me a box and say, like, I promise you this is a good tool. You're gonna like it. What kind of tool is it? You don't need to know that. It's a good tool.
I mean,
like, I want to know, am I getting a hammer or a saw when I buy a tool? And I want to know, what is this game? I don't want to read a text description of the game. I want to see gameplay.
So that being said, though, think of how it plays out in Hollywood. How many movies have we seen based on a trailer that is a fantastic trailer, but the movie is shit? And so,
don't we hate that?
Yeah. So, well, that's what I'm saying. So now, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. But are game trailers then supposed to be? We're going to fix that problem so we don't be like Hollywood.
It's a fair question.
That's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. I mean,
well, you need to.
Old grumpy gamer. If you're going to sell me a game, I want to see some screenshots and some video of gameplay. And both this trailer and the space game trailer, both of those really, I felt like I wanted to go to their marketing departments and say, are you ashamed of this game? Because
exactly.
That's my feeling as a gamer. And I bet, and I'll be fair to the game development teams, I bet they're good games, right? So show them to me, right?
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
And you know what? Before I move on, and before I give you the microphone, Zeno and Andy, I was playing the devil's advocate because in many ways I completely agree with you. The very reason why we put this show together is because we actually believe, and you developers can contradict us, that a trailer, I wouldn't say says it all, but the trailer is your one-time opportunity to capture the quality of your game, and it's a good medium for it.
Yeah.
Zeno.
But I have to agree and disagree with Chris here because after watching this trailer, I watched it like 2 times. And after that, I immediately went on YouTube and searched for Let's Play of gameplay or video of this game. And I watched like 40 minutes of gameplay because yes, I do want to know what the game is about, but if the trailer manages to captivate me in a way that this one did, I actually go on YouTube. It's like, yes, the seller is promising that there is a fantastic saw in this box, but he also gives you the opportunity to open the box in the store, take the saw, see how it works, even plug it into the electricity and see if it works. And if you see that the build quality and the weight of that saw is good, then you will pack it on the box and buy the box. So we do have YouTube, and this trailer actually was interesting and captivating enough that I watched the gameplay video and immediately watched the gameplay video.
Andy, closing thoughts before we...
That's interesting. That's actually interesting. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's actually an interesting outlook on it. So you, from what it sounds like, is that you expect gamers to use YouTube to figure out more about your games and stuff.
Everyone use it. Everyone use it today.
Right. So what you're saying is as a developer, it's like you almost make your game with that intention, knowing it's going to be used on YouTube. That's
yes, absolutely.
Well, yes. Yeah, and when you see an average gamer, first thing he goes to Steam, he looks for the game. Then he goes to the user reviews and searches for the negative ones because he doesn't care about the positives. If everybody likes that part, I mean, you know what I want to say. So positives do not concern me. I know that if a majority likes those things, there is a fair chance I will like it. But I want to know what negatives are.
It's true.
And if any of those negatives are a deal breaker for me. And after that, I watch Let's Play video on YouTube. Not a review, but Let's Play video. I want to see how the gameplay works and how the mechanics work. And then I go and buy or don't buy the game. And that's the majority of players today.
Andy, you get to...
I agree 100%. That's how probably 90% of the people who buy games on Steam work.
And Andy will give you the closing comments.
Sure. So first, I just want to give this game due. It does look beautiful, and yeah, I definitely had to go and do the next step and actually, start looking at the Steam page, and it's beautiful, right? Very awesome. I miss Sam and Max, and I haven't been enough into the Telltale games, but yeah, it's definitely got its due. Having said that, though, one thing, especially in free-to-play, and especially with our game, most frustrating thing on Earth that I experienced when we were at PAX is we had to practically drag them into our booth, and the tagline that I walked away with was surprisingly fun. It's because when I show them and they look at my screen and there's a big grid of puzzle pieces, disgusting. Point and click is definitely a sibling of mine. And so, I mean, look at Dota 2. If you go on Dota 2, good luck finding any freaking gameplay in either a screenshot or in a trailer. Why? Because the barrier to entry to play the game is download it and play, and it's free and it's zero. So why would you not spend that entire time treating the whole thing as a splash screen, right? Like, oh, you're coming in here. Why do they have opening cinematics? Now, for pay games, yeah, like totally, I get it. But there is a device to this. As long as you're not being scummy about it, you shouldn't show them one game and then present them another one. But for us, I mean, we have gameplay in our trailer, but our screenshots are all art stylization, from concept to renders that do either appear in the game somehow or our backgrounds on Steam, etc. And because if we don't have that, our downloads will plummet to absolutely zero. Yeah. So it's not trickery to me because the game is not.
It's interesting what you say. Yeah,
that is interesting.
It's a contrast. Yeah. So we're not deceiving, really, but we actively are conscious of it. So.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get you out of here. Want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody in the chat. We hope you got your free games. We're sorry about the technical difficulties. Definitely a lot to be excited about September in the indie scene. Some hot stuff, and we wish we could have covered it all, but that would be 100 games. These were the top 10s. The video will be finalized and published on OpNoobs.com, on YouTube, and on iTunes, the podcasting version as well, if you just don't want to go through the images and listen to Chris talk. It's entertaining.
Nice enough, though.
Yeah, fair enough. Chris, Kate, Andy, Zeno, big thanks from the OPN crew for making this opening episode for us. You're gonna see us once a month doing this thing with the fancy people we meet every week.
Fancy.
On Thursday night, tune back in on twitch.tv/OpNoobs online for the podcast on Legion, the World of Warcraft expansion. I think there's something to be said, and I think we all at OPN have a love-hate relationship with Blizzard for some of the stuff they've done to us over the past, but we love them at the end of the day. And Legion is truly amazing that after some 12-13 years, they still managed to pull us back in. And you can tell there's a pitfall in productivity when a World of Warcraft expansion comes out, where there's less reviews, less op-eds, less shows, less everything, because everybody's just gearing up in WoW. And
at least people are not dying like in Pokemon Go.
Yeah. Exactly. So tune in for that on Thursday night, giveaways as well. And on Sunday, we're interviewing the French, just like me, on Dungeon Rushers, a game that was in early access and just came out full release. Typical indie RPG with a lot of potential, making some noise on Steam. Looking forward to that. Again, all thanks for tuning in. Shane and James, thanks for co-hosting the show. We look forward to the next opportunity and having us next time. Let's give a round of jazz hands, and Stylo, you can get us out.
And
Thanks all.
Shantae.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.